Hey guys, and thank you so much for checking in this. What I'm going to be doing in this is I'm going to be talking about what I did with my re-edit of The Hobbit. So, the goal was, these are like the targets that I set for myself for my re-edit of The Hobbit. So, the targets were, make them less than about 4 hours long, put more focus on the dwarfs and the Hobbit and the wizards, make it completely distincted from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but to still feel like you're in Middle Earth. I'm just gonna go through little things that I did before, like, just to give you more of an understanding about why I made those choices. So you may have also noticed straight away that the music and the tone of this is was from Desolation. No, not Desolation. Battle of Five Armies. You might be thinking, why did I decide to use the music from Battle of Five Armies instead of like the usual Hobbit music from Unexpected Journey or Desolation of Smaug? As we cut a little bit forward past the credits, we see that I have chosen to start off the movie with Gandalf already in prison in Dogol Door. And after that, what happens is that Galadriel comes in, saves him from the orc, kills the orc, and in my re-edit, we don't really have that scene with Saruman or Hugo Weaving when they fight off those ghosts, and then Sauron comes in. We don't have that. In fact, I completely cut out Sauron altogether in my re-edit. Um, so yeah, I mean we didn't really need Sauron, so I just cut him out altogether. And what we do is that after Galadriel comes in, we cut straight to the Council of Elrond. And a lot of fan edits have cut this out, understandably. But I decided to leave it in and cut it and put it straight in the beginning. One of the reasons is because Lord of the Rings fans do get quite of a kick out of this. It's nice to see Christopher Lee, it's nice to see Hugo Weaving, it's nice to see Kate Blanchett, it's nice to see all of these characters. So, having them at the start of the movie, I just put them at the start of the movie for Lord of the Rings fans to, just all get a kick out of it, but there's also more to it than just that. So, what I wanted Gandalf to get the consent from the council um, that he to go on this quest from these dwarves, because as we do see here, Kate Blanchett says the dragon has long been on your mind, so we know that Gandalf is going to be going on a quest to fight the dragon. And this is the Council of Elrond giving and Gandalf trying to get the consent, because before that he just went on the mission to go and do it himself. Which is why Saruman said the line, "Tell me, Gandalf, do you think these plans and schemes of yours would go unnoticed?" So already he was already on the quest to take back to see if Sauron has returned, and Gandalf didn't really get the consent beforehand. This time, Gandalf is getting the consent of the council before he goes on the quest to take back the mountain. Oh yeah, something else. What I did was, in my re-edit, I just decided to cut out Radagast altogether because he just wasn't really important to the story. He didn't really serve any purpose, so I just cut him out altogether. So what happened was that, I didn't cut him out altogether because there is a bit where when Galadriel said, "You carry something, it came to you from Radagast." I do have a cut where you see Radagast. We don't actually see his face, but we see the body of Radagast giving him the Morgul blade. So just a little bit of a cameo from Radagast there. So we don't actually see him. We do see him, but we don't really get a good look of him. So it does still lead up to the audience's imagination about what he looks like. For all we know, he probably just looks like he's probably just Peter Jackson in costume. But no, I mean, I feel like that this was at least important to at least get out. But going on topic.
It's not so very much After all.
Do not be afraid, Mithrandir. You are not alone.
So that's the moment that Galadriel gives the consent to Gandalf that you can go on this quest. When she says, "Do not be afraid, you are not alone. If you need any help, I will come." You know, that's the moment where Galadriel gives the consent to Gandalf that, yes, you can go on this quest. And then afterwards, we cut straight to the opening of Desolation of Smaug, with Thorin arriving in the town from Lord of the Rings. And we have that little cute cameo from Peter Jackson, with the carrot. Nothing wrong with that. Director's cameo, cool. So yeah, I feel like this was at least important to keep in, and the whole scene is completely played out how it is in the theatrical cut. That's something else I should also mention as well, because I was particularly strict on what scenes I should use from the extended cut, because even there are definitely scenes from the extended cut, like the opening scene with Gandalf in the cage, that was from the extended cut and not the theatrical cut. That was at least important to keep in from the extended cut. But if there were scenes from the theatrical cut that I didn't really need to put in, then I just didn't put it in. So I stuck very strictly with the theatrical cut, but only really used scenes that were important to the story from the extended cut, just to make the running time feel more smoother. So as we see here, we have that little conversation between Gandalf and Thorin,
which is why we're going to need a burglar.
So some of you might be wondering why, this was, you might be thinking, why did I cut out that brilliant opening scene with Bilbo and Gandalf meeting for the first time? Directly from the books. It was directly from the books. And there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I absolutely love that scene. One of my favourite moments from the entire Hobbit trilogy. The only problem is, it's the transition to that scene, because I couldn't really think of another way to transition to that, because the transition will look incredibly rough. From jumping from Gandalf to being in the place in Lord of the Rings to that, and it was very difficult trying to figure that out, so I had to cut it out altogether. But if you look at this scene, this is Bilbo's is asleep in this. He hears the noise outside, which is Gandalf putting the mark on him, and I know a lot of people might be thinking, oh, but Bilbo didn't know, Bilbo didn't want to go. It's Bilbo didn't want to go in the theatrical version, so, and we do know from the story that Bilbo and Gandalf already know each other before the events of The Hobbit, so, yeah, I didn't really think it was really too much of a big problem, really. So I think it was done relatively well. It was quite funny, and the bit where Bilbo falls back asleep as well before we cut to him going out. Yeah, I particularly really like this. I don't think it's not. I don't even I can admit I don't think it's as good as the the scene with Gandalf and Bilbo meeting for the first time. But in terms of transitions, I couldn't think of a better way to do it, and I don't really have the skills to take out the font. The font at the start of it where it says unexpected journey and you see the smoke going in the air. I don't have the skills to do that, so I had to cut that out altogether. And again, I changed the name to the more fitting title, which is the name of the book, There and Back Again. So yeah, it was just more of a fitting title, making it into one long movie. So and yes, I know that I placed it in like about 2 parts, but you know that was just do more with spacing than anything else. So I mean, yeah, it's just more to do with spacing. So you know, theoretically, it's still one movie. But as soon as the Misty Mountain Cold song is finished, we do also have an orchestra version, and we do have nice shots of New Zealand. Um, and I don't have the Gandalf's monologue where he's like, "You have to live without pocket handkerchiefs and a great many other things, Bilbo Baggins." So I cut that out. So you know, just playing the orchestra music over it, I think that was just good enough. And we just cut to the trolls. You know, that scene is completely played out the way it is in the original. Same with Bilbo getting the sword, and we do cut forward a little bit to the orcs scene. So with this scene was incredibly difficult to edit, and that was solely because Radagast in the original movie played a very important part of the scene. He was the one leading the orcs away from it. From this scene, like the orcs, I would probably talk about the orcs, and I'll talk to them. I'll talk about the orcs in a bit later on, but this was specifically important to the story because it does lead to them going to Rivendell. But having Radagast in there was specifically difficult to cut out. But lucky enough with the music and whatnot, it did make it a little bit more easier to edit. And yeah, just cutting out Radagast in this scene and just having them go to what was it? Rivendell. I nearly forgot them going to Rivendell on their own. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about this as well. So the bit with Gandalf, and this is from the extended cut, and you see Thorin eavesdropping on Gandalf and what's his name? Elrond, Lord Elrond's conversation, and they're talking behind Thorin's back, saying that a reign of madness rules in that family. So we know that a reign of madness rules in the family. Yeah, so that's kind of gives Thorin, like, you know, the look on Thorin's face in this scene. It's kind of giving us the, oh, maybe Gandalf doesn't trust me. Maybe I am a bit worried about it, but maybe Gandalf doesn't trust me. So that's the reason why I cutted it to make them leave Rivendell afterwards, because it gives Thorin a element of, like, you know, distrust of Gandalf. So yeah. We cut on a bit forward. So again, like I cut out the rock trolls, you know, because they weren't necessary to the story. Oh yeah, the orcs, the goblin scene was also cut short as well. So yeah, the goblin scene was cut short. Bits with Gollum and Bilbo completely uncut. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's one of the best scenes in the entire trilogy. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, okay, so straight after the orc scene with Gandalf saying run, immediately I cut to the roughly like the opening of Desolation of Smaug where the orcs are chasing them. And something I want to bring up here, and I don't think a lot of fan edits really do this, because what happened with Jackson is that when it came to doing Unexpected Journey and Desolation of Smaug, through Desolation of Smaug he changed the font, and it's so weird. It's like, you know, like the idea of The Hobbit is that the thing about the Hobbit movie, the Hobbit book, is that it's not a prequel to Lord of the Rings. It's not a prequel, and it shouldn't be a prequel to Lord of the Rings. But and then, like, I guess Jackson thought, oh, you know, the first Hobbit movie was a bit too light-hearted. So I'm gonna make it feel. So I'm gonna make the color palette feel more like Lord of the Rings, and I seem to be the only person in the world who has a problem with that. Um, I'm sorry. I don't like how Jackson changes the color palette for in Desolation of Smaug and Battle of Five Armies. So what I did was like I thought I was gonna bash myself over the head with this, but I decided to change the font to make it fit more of the unexpected journey. I know it's not the same color palette as Lord of the Rings, but you know what? The Hobbit is supposed to be separate from Lord of the Rings. It's not a prequel to Lord of the Rings, and it shouldn't be treated like a prequel to Lord of the Rings. Um, yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand why he did that. Like, that's one of the things. Like, I I really don't understand why Jackson decided to change the color palette of Lord of the Rings. It makes absolutely no sense. Um, yeah, I just didn't get it. Like I've seen, I'm only really bringing this up because I firmly feel like I'm like the only person in the world who has a problem with it. But if anyone else has a problem with it, please leave your comment down below. But I seem to be the only person in the world who has a problem with the font. So yeah, we cut forward a bit. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that with Azog's story. So Azog barely really gets names dropped in my edit at all, and he's as important as this orc. He's not really that important to the story in this. Well, he is important, but like him having his own backstory isn't really that much important. Um, so him having a history with the dwarves cut out. He's just a bad orc. There's nothing really else you really need to say about it. He's just a bad orc. And he does pose a threatening a premise in this movie. So, yeah. And again, with the spider scene, just cut that short. Again, oh yeah, something else. After doing this re-edit, I now no longer like Alana Bloom or Evangeline Lilly. They were so annoying to cut out this. So Legolas, because originally Legolas in the movies were originally Alana Bloom was just gonna have about a 2-minute cameo, and this was roughly what it was gonna be. But I guess they thought, well, paying Orlando Bloom $1 million for a 2-minute cameo isn't really worth it. Let's just write in more scenes. Why? Just get another person. But yeah, so Orlando Bloom plays less of a part in my version than he does. Poor Angelia Lilly. I mean, her love story with the dwarf, didn't really need to happen. So I cut that out altogether. And poor Angelia Lilly, she's just kind of I've kind of reduced her down to one line. So she only really makes she's only in 2 shots of my edit. I do feel bad for her. She didn't want to do the love triangle. But yeah, I mean, it was just something that I had to cut out. It wasn't needed for the story. So yeah, we're going ahead. And yeah, the barrel scene, that's also cut down as well. If you also notice this, I didn't put any music in there, and that was just because it was just a barrel scene. But yeah, the barrel scene happened, and I also cut out the subplot of one of the dwarves getting poisoned by a dart. And the reason for that is because I didn't like it in the Hobbit that not all of the dwarves make it to Erebor. Even though that in my cut we don't really see Feely, Keely, Biffa, and what was the other one? Gloin. We don't see those dwarves when they go up to the mountain. We can just assume that they're they're around the boats or something. So wherever they are, it's up to you. And we do see them running to the mountain afterwards as well. And we'll get to that in a bit. Oh, yeah, so actually, no, I did. So I cut out Alfred's part, so I've reduced his role into like, a 3-line role. Same Stephen Fry as well. I mean, God, I love Stephen Fry. He's fantastic, hilarious, brilliant actor, intelligent man. But like, he was just really wasted in these movies. So he was just there to be a cartoon character. So there's a line that he says here. So I just reduced him down to like sort of like a politician, businessman type guy. Even though that some of the choices that he does make isn't right. He does still believe he's doing the right thing. So that's why we have him with the dwarves, accepting them to Erebor, because he just feels like it's the right thing to do. So the bit where he's like, "Your ancestor who failed to kill the beast," when he does that, I just cut that out because it was just way too cartoonish. Yeah, it was just too cartoonish, so I just cut that line out. So it's just like, "Who failed to kill the beast?" Everything with Bilbo and Smaug, completely the same. There's nothing wrong with Bilbo and Smaug, except I cut out the bits where, with the dwarves fighting Smaug, because it just looked like a bunch of like Wildly Coyote and Looney Tunes thing. So yeah. Oh, I would also be missed if I didn't play this. The arrow scene. So I decided to cut out the black arrow scene altogether, and I wanted, and that was just because in the book, the black arrow wasn't really that important to the story. It was mainly just Bard's lucky arrow. So we can just kind of just, and even though we do still have that flashback to the black arrow, it's still Bard fighting the dragon. It's still him winning. It's still him killing the dragon. So yeah, I mean, like, it's still him killing the dragon, and I just realized that around this point in the movie where where I Kill Smaug, so Peter Jackson had like 2 movies and a bit of, and like the first 5 minutes of the first one, oh sorry, the third one, to kill off Smaug. So altogether, I'm just making a roughly explanation. It's like about 5 hours and 5 minutes he got to kill Smaug. I did like about 2.5 hours, which is the usual running time for a movie. Yeah. So yeah, bunch of times in this movie where they do mention about the necromancer. One of the like, but it's sort of a bit like what's it called? The Mad King from Game of Thrones. We don't actually see him, but we, like, every time they mention him, you can just feel the spirit of him. So that's one of the reasons why we don't really need to see the necromancer. They mention it a couple of times: necromancer, necromancer, necromancer. So yeah, I mean, we don't really need to see the necromancer. Yeah, the battle of 5 armies is reduced down, so I decided to we kept Billy Connolly in because it's Billy Connolly. Gotta love Billy Connolly. And yeah, I mean, like, a lot of the battle just seems unnecessary, and the bit where you see Bilbo fighting, and he does say in the movie that he's not a warrior, he's a hobbit, and when you see him fighting, it does look ridiculous. I know that's going to sound really wrong for me because, like, I'm judging on his size, but it's true. It doesn't look, it just looks ridiculous. He's not a warrior, he's a hobbit. And hobbits aren't really made for battle. And we have established in the film that Bilbo is able to defend himself, he's able to protect himself, and he's able to look after others as well. So we don't really need to see him fight in the battle. So immediately, as soon as like the orcs come, and when Gandalf and Bilbo go back to what's it called, the city of Dale, we have immediately we see the dwarves coming out of the mountain. So instead of just having like, you know, a dragged on scene of like Thorin just being like, I am mad, I'm sick. Well, better now. Instead of just having that, I just, you know, how I portrayed Thorin in Battle of Five Armies, I was more or less portraying him as sort of like, you know, again, the Mad King from Game of Thrones. Because the way they talk about him is that, you know, the Mad King became paranoid. He was captured at one point. He was captured. So and it was from his paranoia that turned him mad. And I wanted the same thing from this as well with Thorin. So it's more of his paranoid side that made him mad. So that was just something that I just wanted to do. So he was more paranoid than he was mad. And the bit where he hears the orcs, he's basically just like, I'm just going to nut up and then I'm going to fight them again. So, yeah, I mean, you know, at least try to still at least keep Thorin's dignity. So this was like the last thing I did was the funeral scene. Because originally I wasn't going to have it in. I just thought, you know what? I can't be bothered to put this in. But then the more that I thought about it, and when I rewatched the Hobbit re-edits time and time again, I realised how important that scene was. Because not only are we saying goodbye to a couple of our favourite characters, but we also see what happens with the Arkenstone. We see who's leading the mountain now. We get like a bunch of yeah, it's very important, the funeral scene, and I don't really understand why Peter Jackson cut that out. It's not like it's going to run down running time, but it's like one of those scenes like Saruman's death from Return of the King. There are just important scenes that you need to leave in. You need to leave them in, and this was one of them. So that's basically everything that I did with the re-edit. We get that nice shot with Ian Holmes. Rest in peace, Ian Holmes. You were amazing in this movie. But also another thing that I want to mention is that in the end credit scene, a little nice note that I did, but I also put the Misty Mountain song, Ed Sheeran's I See Fire, and Billy Bob Thornton, I don't know, Pippin, I'm just going to call him Pippin, Pippin's Last Goodbye. I put them all in the end credit scene because it just felt nice too. And at the end I also put the, you know, because they just had the Warner Brothers sign at the end, so just a little bit of thing that I thought that MGN, no not MGN, New Line decided deserved to at least get a font as well. And also just for the sake of it, I also put the Don't Cry Just Laugh logo at the end as well. So yeah, so that's my rundown of what I mainly did my re-edit of The Hobbit. I didn't really want to go through everything, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned, and yeah, please make sure you go and check out my re-edit of The Hobbit. And yeah, so peace out.